Today I'm going to show you how to work a crochet mosaic pattern. This is going to be a basic introduction on how to read the graph to create a project. This project in the sample that I'm going to be showing you today is just a simple little coaster. It's a fairly easy mosaic pattern, and mosaic can range from very simple and easy to very, very intricate where you really have to pay attention to the project itself. So again, this is going to be a basic introduction that will hopefully help you begin your journey into mosaic crochet. To begin a mosaic crochet project, you really need just a few supplies. You obviously need your two different colors of yarn, and they do have to be two different colors. If you use the same color, the pattern's just going to be lost. There's no point in crocheting mosaic if you don't use at least two colors. Here I've just got a solid green and a cream color yarn. In this pattern, I had a cream color yarn, and then as you can see, this is kind of a variegated yarn. Anything like that is totally fine as long as it contrasts with the other color. The other important items is obviously you're going to need your graph. I like to have these printed off, and I will show you how I mark the rows for my progress. You will need a pair of scissors handy, obviously your crochet hook, and then I also like to keep a ruler. I prefer these see-through rulers. They just kind of help me keep track of where I'm at in my progress. And then a nice pen or pencil just to kind of make notes as you go. Okay, so mosaic crochet is very popular because of the fun designs that you can make with the color changes. So here's the coaster that I've shown you in the introduction. Here is the coaster as well, made in a solid color. I have not finished the ends off yet. I will be showing you how to do those in a later video as well. Another design that I have in mosaic crochet is this fun little sunshine. This was part of a crochet along blanket where they crocheted a different design each month that featured that month. So it was June, and it will feature a sunshine. And that I will have linked as well in the bottom of the description. But as you can see, mosaic crochet can be very, very fun with the different types of patterns. You can create images or just like some fun geometric designs within your project. Okay, so if you saw this one that I just showed you, you saw all of these ends. That is the one part of mosaic crochet that is different than traditional crochet. Each row is crocheted with one color of yarn. So for the first row, you're going to be working one color of yarn. You start on one side, on the right side, you crochet across, and then you cut your yarn. The next row, you take your alternating color and you crochet across and then cut your yarn. So for each row in mosaic crochet, you will crochet from right to left and then cut your yarn. If you are left-handed, you will crochet from left to right and then cut your yarn. So at the end of your project, you do have a lot of these ends, but I have a video tutorial that will show you different ideas on how you can either utilize the ends and make fringe out of them, or you can bury them in with a border. And I will show those techniques in another video linked in the description below. Okay, so I've gone over mosaic crochet, how it's worked one row at a time with one strand of yarn and a color, working from right to left. Another unique part about mosaic crochet is it really is single-sided. So this is the front side where you can see the nice squares and the outline of the design. The back side creates different, you can just kind of see more of the striped rows. You can actually almost see more of the single row, like the cream color row, fasten off, the green row, fasten off, the cream row, fasten off. But as you can see, it is just striped, which is totally fine for like a blanket or something, but there is a definite back and front side to your crochet pieces. Okay, so to explain mosaic crochet, You're going to typically get a chart to work the pattern. Most Mosaic Crochet includes a chart, which is actually easier to work off of than a written pattern. Sometimes you'll find a designer that has the written instructions. In my designs, I include the chart as well as written instructions so you can kind of cross-check to make sure you're on track. Now, when you see this chart, usually they're done with color on them like this. Now, you'll see that these have squares in each corner with an outline. If you look at my pattern here of my completed coaster, that is exactly what it looks like. It's got the squares with an outline around them. So the graph will correspond with what your finished project is going to look like. So the graph colors show what your pattern looks like. However, it is very important, and this was the trickiest thing for me to get a hold of and keep in mind when I started Mosaic Crochet. The color on the graph does not matter. The only time it matters is in the very, very first row right here. It will show you what color of yarn you need to work the row in. However, as far as the rest of the information on the graph, the color does not matter. So realistically, this chart is the exact same as the last one, and this is the one that really matters. So you're going to look down here and you're going to see row 1 is worked in white, and it's going to be worked from right to left. Then you're going to start row 2, which is also worked from right to left, but that time it's going to be worked in green. So the indication in this first line will show you what color of yarn to work. The very first and the very last stitch of each row will be worked as a traditional single crochet. So each row of your entire project, indicated right here, is a single crochet. The last stitch will also be a traditional single crochet. When I say a traditional single crochet, that is a single crochet worked through both loops of the stitch of the prior row. So you're going to work through the front and the back loop of those stitches. Okay, so you know what color of yarn you're working. So in row 1, you're going to work white or cream color yarn, and you're going to work a row of single crochets. For row 2, you're going to work in green yarn, and you're going to work another row of single crochets. Every single crochet that is marked with a plain box, as you can see, there's nothing in the box, it's just a plain box. So a plain box is a back loop single crochet. So for those stitches starting with row 2 will all be back loop single crochets, leaving the front loop open for the next rows. Okay, so now if you're going to move up to row 3, now we're on row 3. This is where I'm going to get out my ruler so it's easier to follow. So I've got row 1 with regular traditional single crochets because there's no loops to really work in. Your second row is going to be, remember, an empty square will be a back loop single crochet. Now you're going to move up to row 3. This one is going to be worked in your white or your cream color. You're going to work a traditional single crochet in your first stitch and your last stitch. Now this stitch right here is not an empty stitch. This one is a block that has an arrow down in it. This means you are going to drop down to the front loop of this first stitch right here, this front loop stitch, and you're going to work a front loop double crochet. The double crochet height will bring it to the same height as your single crochet in this row. So again, we're on row 3, and it is a arrow down, which indicates you're going to drop down and do a front loop double crochet. Then you're going to do a single crochet in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are going to be back loop single crochets in the next 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to have another back loop, or sorry, front loop double crochet. So you're going to drop down and grab this front loop to create that. And then you're going to work a single crochet, and then you have 4 front loop double crochets. So you're going to drop down and grab that front loop in those rows. These stitches alternating from a back loop single crochet to a front loop double crochet is what will create that mosaic design. Okay, so this is why I prefer learning on a solid color graph. As you can see, we're going to move up to row 4 now. You're going to start with your green yarn here, work a traditional single crochet in the first stitch, a back loop single crochet in the empty stitch here, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arrows. So you're going to work 5 front loop double crochets, and then work a back loop single crochet, front loop double crochet. Working these stitches following this first color makes this an easy graph to read with the arrows. So for the first time you work a mosaic crochet, remember, do not worry about what color the blocks are except for that first block in the row. That is probably the most confusing part of working these patterns, because if you look at this, so row 4 here, you can easily identify double crochets, single crochets, double crochets. Now if you come over here and look on row 4, you have multiple colors. So, and the colors do not coordinate with the stitches. So in this row they happen to, but if you come up to different rows up here, the only rows that are double crochets is 1, 2 stitches. The rest of them are back loop single crochets. So the colors do not indicate what color or what stitch you are working. So you have to completely ignore the color of the block and just work off of the actual sign or no sign on the graph. Okay, so I hope I didn't just completely confuse you. I'm just going to run through the basics again very quickly, and then in the description below I'm going to link to this little coaster pattern, and I will actually walk through the pattern and make one with you. But for the sake of this video, I just went over the basics of reading the graphs in Mosaic Crochet, and I kind of want to go through those points again with you one more time. So Mosaic Crochet always works one row at a time, going from right across to left, and then cutting your yarn. And then you're going to switch colors and work again from right to left, cutting your yarn. So each row will be a new color of yarn. The color in your graph on the charts does not matter. Totally ignore that and look at the symbols within each square. Empty squares are a back loop single crochet. If the square has an arrow down, it is a front loop double crochet. This is also, you might also hear this referred to as an anchored double crochet because you're anchoring down one row below. All right, a couple of other things. The first and the last stitch of your row will always be a traditional single crochet that you can see on these samples here. So you can always see the first stitch color along here. And that's because they're worked traditionally and they're not getting covered up by the mosaic stitches here. So when you work an overlaid or an anchored double crochet, it covers up the green stitch behind, showing the full length of the double crochet. The last thing I want you to remember about Mosaic Crochet is there is a front side and a back side. So those are just important to note for depending on the project that you're making, so you're not making something that you want to be reversible and then it not actually looking the way you'd like it to on the back side. So again, this was just a video on how to read the graphs of Mosaic Crochet. I'm going to link below a tutorial on how to make these coasters below, and there's also linked below a tutorial on how to do different edges on your Mosaic Crochet to get rid of these ends. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, go ahead and post below, or better yet, follow into the other videos linked, and that might help answer some of your questions. Thanks for watching.